Federal law prohibits filming of endangered falcons except for educational purposes. To avoid federal crimes and maximum penalty of up to 5 years in prison, the following comedy sketch has been edited in post-production to be educational. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh, pretty bird. Pretty. Oh, shh, it's okay. It's okay, you pretty bird. Shh.
Here, what the hell are you doing?
This is our falcon, our CrowderShop.com mascot. I'm gonna teach her how to hunt and carry
You
mugs.
don't know anything about falconing?
Actually, it's falconry, which historically was a popular sport and status symbol among the nobles of medieval Europe and Japan, where it's called takaguri. Falconry has been around forever and may have even been started in Mesopotamia.
He's got a hysterical little helmet with a spear.
Good question, Stephen. The falcon's hood, used during the phase of its acclimating to humans, which is referred to as the manning process, is used to keep the raptor in a calm state, both in early parts of its training and throughout its life.
You think we could get it to attack Brendan? Do you want to attack Brendan? Yes.
Falcons aren't naturally human aggressive. A kestrel will do well starting with chicken hearts, livers, then switching to other meats like sparrows, other small birds, ducks and pigeons, and then move on to mice and insects. So remember, if you see a falcon in the wild, it's more afraid of you than you are of him.
It's a her, but yeah.
This one's a her?
I'm gonna quit.
Falcons may be badass, but not as badass as merchandise, which you can get at CrowderShop.com.
That is a delicious COVID-free sip.
Oh,
nice.
Good slurp.
Good Tested
for you.
negative again yesterday.
I'm sorry.
For the COVID. So, which really sucks because I'm actually sick.
I'd rather be done with it.
Everyone in my family got the COVID. They're all fine. I repeat myself. Yeah. And I just have a sinus infection, so I apologize for the sound. Some people have actually been sending me emails.
Oh, really?
Saying, don't sniff in the microphone. No. Well, I'll consider it.
No, you won't.
No, there's nothing I can do about it. We have a lot to get to today. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Not a lot that's really important. This is one of those days when you look in the media and you see them trying to make some people have used the term mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Because mountains are they're much larger than molehills.
What's a molehill?
I've never seen a molehill.
It's a hill made by moles.
I could have just been
Really?
inaccurate as far as I don't know. Do we have a to scale molehill?
I'm not sure.
We'll look into it.
Uh,
I have some prairie dogs.
Do you have some? Well, you did just drink two rock stars. So we're going to be talking about the military. We're going to be talking about the Canadian Prime Minister who loves blackface. I wish I loved anything as much as he loves blackface.
Blackface.
And how woke the military is, as well as the FBI sting operation, the glow stick operation that happened in Washington, D.C. this weekend. We're going to cover how the media covered it versus what actually happened.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And it's amazing if you watch CNN this morning, the way they tried to cover this with a straight face. You could see that these people are like, just give me my retainer and send me on my way. All right. We have Gerald A. is here. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
All right.
I'm doing okay.
You're the kind of sick we don't care about anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no one cares about this.
Not really.
No.
You don't have COVID. Next.
No. And I was talking about this. I'll talk about it afterwards. It's bridging the racial divide with
nice.
black people over
Good.
COVID. How are you? Speaking of which,
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Guten Morgen.
Yeah.
Just playing to the bass.
I don't know what that means.
Jeez.
No sickle cell?
No, not anymore.
Nah. Some
I
people
got-
call it
I
a
got
sling
rid of
blade.
it.
And Dave Landau, how are you?
Ahoy. I'm delicious.
That was a little bit of a delay. He hurt his neck, just so you know.
I did.
What did you do?
I sat in a plane.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
Sometimes,
That'll do it.
I'm at that age where I dozed off on a plane improperly on a neck pillow, and I woke up like I'd been wrestling.
Dave,
maybe they were wrestling
you. Blacked out again, Dave.
No, I wish. I wish I could explain it like that. I don't know. Woke up in my driveway. Neck hurts.
You were missing your pants as well. Come on, be honest.
Well, I wasn't missing them. I just wasn't wearing them.
Yeah. He doesn't yearn for them.
I'm not a pants guy.
No one's a pants guy.
I like to Daffy Duck or Donald Duck when I'm on an airplane.
What, wear a shirt and nothing else?
Yeah,
Short
exactly. I'm a real
Short
Winnie the Pooh when it comes to flying.
Speaking of honeypots,
Thank you.
oh bother.
Bother.
Oh, wait, is your neighbor on the plane, Kevin Smith, taking up 2 seats? Just
Yes.
Dave Lando, not wearing pants. I don't know what's going on. He's a fat son of a bitch. So,
Not Dave.
is he dead? No.
He lost
No.
a ton of weight.
The ton
Oh,
of
that's
weight.
right.
okay.
He
He's
lost
still
a ton
a
of
son of a
weight.
bitch. I
He
mean,
looks
you can
like he looks like someone stuffed a bag of Kevin Smith with someone to resemble Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
He looks like a guy who should be fat.
Yes.
And I don't like when people who should be fat lose weight because you're like, well, now you just look weird.
looks
Right.
weird.
Yeah. Like Star Jones.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, you were Star Jones. Now you look like a ladybug who sneezed.
Yeah. Also, you're a millionaire. Maybe get jerseys that fit.
Yes.
I think you could. Or maybe
okay.
just don't wear jerseys. I don't know.
So we do have a lot, and we'll also be talking about the Marvel movie, which I don't care about. Shang-Chi, is that what it's called?
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Shang-Chi.
But first, the left on TikTok. Now, this is the new thing, and Gerald will be happy to hear about this. They've been claiming that Jesus, the Son of God, we can get in the whole Trinity thing. I don't want to get theological because this is TikTok. That Jesus Christ is non-binary. Here you go.
This is an easy one. If you espouse to the idea that Jesus was born of a virgin birth, then Jesus could not have had male chromosomes. Therefore, Jesus had only female chromosomes.
Tough to argue with that logic.
And presented as masculine. So, Jesus was non-binary. And in terms of male and female, and the Hebrew, the word that was used for "and" describes a spectrum. Male and female and everything in between. Man and woman is a biological concept. Science currently identifies 13 combinations and permutations of XY chromosomes. Masculine and feminine is a sociological construct that is dependent upon the society with which you are talking about.
Wrong.
Yeah, very incorrect. First off, if you're
Wrong.
talking about God, man. But if we're talking about Jesus Christ, certainly a man.
Yeah.
But we
And I don't know what that was.
So the
Which permutation are you?
one that we need to get rid of. Sorry, not physically, but just remove
just
from
The
our
one that
business.
creates Jerry curls and a king tut beard?
That's what you meet in hell. They're like, you can
That's
have a
the kind you're-
conversation with this guy, or you're getting raped by a spider.
Yeah,
You're like,
so
I'll
let's-
take this.
I guess-
I'll talk to the spider for a minute and see.
I'll talk to the one who looks like a Yul Brenner prosthetic by the River Styx. What were you about to say there,
I
Gerald?
was about to say that. Look, this does get into a little bit of theology, but if you presuppose a virgin birth, why would you limit anything that happens after that? Of course, he could have had male chromosomes. God could have been like, boom, male chromosomes, done.
Yeah.
Like, why would you think that that is the best place to jump off from in this conversation? That's idiotic.
Well, the thing is, too, here, this is something that a lot, they do LGBTQAIP, and they talk about permutations. These are incredibly rare.
Yeah.
Let's also be really clear. Like, if you're talking about someone who's intersex or Kleinfelders, they usually identify as a significant, they have a significant amount of secondary sex characteristics that make it clear as to what they actually are.
Yeah.
And these people want to act like, because, they started taking estrogen artificially,
Right.
that, I'm part of that intersex. They don't want to be associated with you. And nor, by the way, does the Son of Man.
Yeah, well.
Son. Son.
Or children at the pool.
Oh, God. I don't know. Maybe it's in the name. I don't know. Maybe look
I don't
that up.
know.
By the way, you're
I
wrong
don't
on the Hebrew, too. Man and female means both. It means the human species. Okay? That's what it's trying to
Mankind.
talk about. It's not trying to talk about man or woman. It's talking about both.
What's the Hebrew word for
Gomorrah.
It's just, which also is a synonym for pillar of salt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus was big into estrogen.
No, I'm not.
If I
don't
don't
even know
remember,
if
he
they
was
had
like, you know what I need up in that cross? Some fake tits.
That'll make it easier.
I'm just trying to be.
Let his blood be on the descendants of our Z's. So,
And the X and the Y.
Wait. There's Z's after that? Oh no, we're on the
we have
wrong
no
side.
idea.
We're on
Yeah.
the wrong team.
He's the son of whatever.
this is where we are. It's just, this is the issue, is the subversion of language. And look, people will talk. We're going to get into the vaccination. Chris Rock is vaccinated and just got COVID, and the statistics there. Just so you know, and this is something we don't need to worry about anymore on YouTube, because if we'd have said this 3 weeks ago, be in trouble. If you're vaccinated, there's still a good chance you can get COVID. Just so you know. Now it's okay. We used to say there are no breakthrough cases.
Right.
No, it's actually it's the rule now. It's not the exception.
science has
Maybe you
changed.
won't be hospitalized.
Yeah,
Maybe
thankfully.
there's protective effects. Sure, but if you think the vaccine protected you, that's not true. But back to godless heathens. Culturally, this matters more at a certain point where they are really they will call evil good and good evil. I mean, I just noticed this with my wife. Every time we watch something on Netflix or Amazon, whatever it is, it's gross people having sex. Do you notice that? It used to be like the last erotic scene. And I says that I saw on a film was, and I fell asleep at the movie Spectre, James Bond with Monica Bellucci.
Right.
And it was, but I mean this, it was actually like erotic, sexual. They were attracted to each other. She was dressed nicely. He was in a tux. And you're sitting there going, oh, this is appealing. It's supposed to be. Look, all art is based on the beauty of the human form. Of course, early Christians had no problem with nudity, just to be clear. And now you tune in, and it's two big fat, angry lesbians pegging, and you're going, what is happening? They don't want to show you the things that you want to see. They want to force upon you things that you don't want to see. I don't know what that was at the Hard Rock
told
Pool.
you to look at my phone.
We really are at that point where there is a social engineering taking place. That all right.
Well, that's just an insane thing, because does he really look like a guy who knows the Bible?
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
That was a
little
very
bit.
loaded statement. Does he really look like a guy who knows the Bible?
Yes.
I don't know if any part of that is correct.
Oh, that's true. Does she?
Everything you just said was wrong.
Does it?
Yep. Can't dig yourself out of that
I don't
one.
know what you
You're
do.
right. I've been quite a hole.
Yeah. Well, maybe we don't know where the holes are.
Who knows?
It could be new ones they made.
Yeah. Surgically built ones.
I didn't know where else to go with that.
No, none of us know where to go with this. So speaking of not knowing where to go, San Francisco, the mayor of San Francisco. Now, many of you may know this, and this is we're going to tie all this in here, because there is the fear mongering that's been going on, of course.
Yeah.
I think we're at the point where enough Americans are saying, okay, this is enough.
Yeah.
When you have Bill Maher and Jimmy Kimmel didn't know how to respond to Bill Maher.
No,
We'll
he
get to that in a
didn't.
second. When you have people out there saying, this is enough, we need to start reopening the country. We are being absurd now when children are being double masked and we're not letting them go to schools. And more important than hypocrisy that we've seen from the left, and this is what I've always talked about, whether it's Nancy Pelosi in her particle vortex.
Yeah.
By the way, tomorrow we'll have Jordan Peterson on the show, long form.
Yes.
Whether it is Governor Whitmer going out and getting pizza, it's not that they're hypocritical. Everyone is a hypocrite, okay? It's that they are not scared in the way they want you to be scared.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi does not fear this virus as the deadly pandemic she claims if she's going into a blow dryer.
Yeah.
Governor Whitmer does not fear it if she's pushing tables together in the McDonald's ball pen. These people are not afraid of it. It's that it's very clear now, transparently, it's about control. Case in point, another one, the San Francisco mayor was caught breaking her own mask mandate at what words matter, but I can only describe as a party. Watch for yourself. Is that a black person singing?
I can't tell.
I don't know.
I wouldn't have believed that.
Is this a poetry jam?
Yes. That's okay.
Yeah. And
That's called "I Wish I Were Deaf" comedy jam.
Yes.
wasn't that bad, man. Come on, wasn't that bad?
Oh, that was just awful.
That was not the best. You know.
And you know that if a white person did that, black people would be making fun of how you had no rhythm, and rightfully so.
Yeah, of course.
And she was also there with the Black Lives Matter co-founder Alicia Garza,
That's right.
just to be
Oh,
clear.
really?
And of course, this goes directly against the San Francisco mask mandate. It's not that it's hypocritical; it's that those people aren't actually scared.
Yeah, they don't believe it.
They will tell you, you don't care? Why don't you care about lives? We're all in this together. They're not. It's not the hypocrisy, and I hate it when I tune into Fox. Well, I don't really tune in, but when I see Fox News, when I see these conservatives out there going, these hypocrites. No, look. That's not the argument. It's that they are clearly lying to you when they tell you you need to be scared. Do you have any idea the particles that are coming out of that person wasn't singing with their diaphragm? That was all throat spit.
Definitely. Well, and we were told.
Let's get down, let's get down, let's get down.
True.
We got
Jamming.
an upright bass.
We were told early on that you couldn't sing in church too in California because it was going to spray particles throughout the place and people were going to get sick. Did you hear her response basically? To this? I don't know if you had her response in there. She's had several. So one was, I'm not going to like take my mask off and sip and then put it up and take it off. It's like, well, you weren't drinking for like a minute straight or eating anything. And then the other one was, well, the Spirit moved me.
Yeah.
And so I just had to. And the other one was, I can't believe I actually saw this morning. She said, what's getting lost in this, and it's tragic, is that Tony got back together after like 20 years or 30 years. That's the group that was singing. Tony spelled 3 different ways, mind you. They got back together and we're missing the tragedy. That's the tragedy. Like she literally said this on CNN.
Like it's the Beatles reuniting on a rooftop.
Nobody knows who that is.
She's like, really? That's what I can't believe this is making this a thing. Everybody was vaccinated.
Wait, that was they were reuniting?
That was their reuniting tour. All of 12 people.
Can we? How do we forcibly and federally fracture them again?
Wait, that wasn't just an open mic night?
I thought it was just like a jam session. People
So did
came
I.
together.
It was
Yeah,
Tony,
that was
Tony,
like,
Tony.
hey, there's jazz in a basement. You can leave $1 if you want.
No, someone called someone up and said, "Hey, it's time to get the band back together. Good idea."
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, Tony. Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Oh, it's the Tony.
"So Cold in the D" is a better song.
Yes, it is.
Someone's going to Google that's going to get 3 million plays after this
Oh,
episode.
it's so cold in the deep.
I love that you both.
It's from Detroit. Everyone from Detroit knows it. Okay, so
I love that she's just rapping in a random graveyard. Everyone.
let's have it in the control room. Bring it up. We'll show it later in the show for Mug Club members. It's the worst song ever.
Well, second.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
We'll talk about that then because I want to know what the first worst song ever is.
So here's Bill Maher, who I love in this interview. He was talking with Jimmy Kimmel, and he was asked about Norm Macdonald, who hated Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he had to sort of act as though they had mutual respect. Whereas every time, Norm was interviewed about Bill Maher, he'd say, you have these comedians. I always think that comedians' job, primarily is to be funny, And then you have some like Bill Maher who think it's to be, intellectual. Like he's on there with George Will, and then he thinks that's his job there, I think it's to be funny. That's all he would say about Bill Maher.
Yeah.
But Bill Maher was talking with Jimmy Kimmel about, and this is him trying to line his pockets because now he's mad that, of course, people aren't coming out to the shows. But I want you to see the dynamic here and that Jimmy Kimmel doesn't really know how to respond, where Bill Maher does bring up a recent poll that shows just how out of touch all Democrats, as a statistical population, Democrats, liberals are with the statistical reality of COVID hospitalization rates, and watch Jimmy Kimmel laugh more uncomfortably than if he was at, what's that band?
Tony.
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 Yeah.
I have to cite a survey that was in the New York Times, which is a liberal paper, so they weren't looking for this answer. But they were talking about the question was, what do you think the chances are that you would have to go to the hospital if you got COVID? Mm-hmm. And Democrats thought that was way higher than Republicans. 41% of Democrats, and the answer is between 1% and 5%.
Okay.
41% of Democrats thought it was over 50%. Another 28% thought it was 20 to 49%. So 70% of Democrats thought it was way, way, way higher than it really was. Liberal media has to take a little responsibility for that, for scaring the shit out of people. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's much harder for every touring act
Talking
to sell
about you,
tickets
Jimmy.
in blue states.
Oh, interesting.
They're afraid to go out of the house.
Oh, interesting. I don't know how to deal with this.
Is there an
Are
audience?
you talking about me?
I guess there is, but neither one of them are interested in making them laugh.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
No, they talked about pot for like the first 7 minutes of the interview, and the audience was totally into that.
Of
Yeah,
course.
they want to show how cool they are. Like, well, the thing is, You know, folks, I used to smoke pot. People say that, you know me. That's the Bill Maher thing. It's always an inside joke. Like, well, you know me, that I like drugs.
That's a miracle I've not been Me Too'd.
It's a miracle.
He talked about hiding pot behind his balls while traveling on airplanes.
Yeah.
Who hasn't?
I am surprised he hasn't been Me Too'd,
It's a good
honestly.
pocket.
No, I am too, because he's always. Do you remember just every
'Cause he's a
TMZ
pervert.
thing? It's like him and 11 blondes.
Yeah. No, he likes black women, too.
Does he?
Yeah, he likes black women. He takes like exclusively like Playboy models. Also, well, speaking of black people, we're going to talk about Trudeau in a little bit.
What a great guy.
Yeah, Bill
I
Maher.
mean, he's willing to date a black Playboy model.
He will never have me on
man
his
of the people.
He will never have me on his show.
No.
I didn't make it through the screener because I'm not as sharp as the Republicans they have on that show. But I spoke with the screener, and then they were like, well, let's not do this.
We'll call you.
Yeah, we'll call you. So the poll he's talking about from the New York Times, 41% of Democrats believe the risk for hospitalization was 50% or more.
Wow.
That's so insane.
Compared to only 28% of Republicans, only 10% of Democrats got it right.
Unbelievable.
And that it was a 1 to 5% hospitalization rate. Now, keep in mind.
Notice
that-
if every other person was in the hospital.
I know. It really is
It
remarkable.
really is insane.
Well, here's the thing too that they don't understand is this also includes anyone who's admitted to the hospital who tests positive for COVID incidentally. So if I go in, for example, for the surgery and I test positive for COVID, that's a hospitalization. So even with that number, it's 1 to 5%. Yeah. We need to start putting this in context. At what point can we say, all right, okay, overreaction. I think the tides are turning.
Yeah. Did you see how bad those numbers were? Bring that, if you can bring the overlay back up. In Republicans and independents, it is permeated throughout. It's not
It's pretty high.
It's worse in Democrats, way worse. But you can see the bottom two categories, over 20% and up to 50% and more. Like, so many people believe that you're going to the hospital if you get COVID, period. You're done. You're going to the hospital. It's going to be a severe case.
The statistical chance of you going to the hospital if you have COVID is very, very low. And the statistical chance of you having COVID if you get sick right now is very low. There's a much stronger likelihood that you have something else.
Right.
Another flu, cold, allergies, sinus infection. This is a statistical reality. And my doctor made it very, very clear. Said, you probably have something else.
Yeah.
It's a 10, maybe 15% chance that you have COVID, and you'd probably be asymptomatic. You probably have something else. And we're not keeping this in context.
Right. No, all the other bugs didn't just decide to take a day off because COVID was on the block. It's like, I guess we don't have to kill people this year.
Yeah.
It's like,
My last physical, they had everything.
My last physical was just Tony. I showed
jeez.
He's getting the finger test, and he's like, it ate my glove.
So, by the way, the best thing you can
resistance.
do on this show is comment. I want to ask you, why do you think the left in Canada may forgive this guy Trudeau with blackface? He's done black. We're going to go through all the times he's done blackface. He might win the prime minister.
Do we have enough time to do
I have
all
no
the time
idea.
he's
There's a
done
lot of
blackface?
time.
Well, because his
we
different costumes make up 13% of the black people in Canada.
And then the remainder is just one Haitian immigrant. He's like, stop doing that!
I am
That's
not-
enough!
No.
They keep thinking I'm you, but I'm not you! You're like, which one's which? Don't shoot any of us! We're not... Don't confuse us! So, Chris Rock, speaking of black guy, he just announced that he has COVID. Now, here's the thing. Of course, no one's happy about the fact that he had COVID.
No.
He said,
No,
He said, hey, guys, just found I have COVID! Trust me, you don't want this! Get vaccinated! Except Chris Rock is vaccinated.
Is he?
Yeah, he is
Hold up.
vaccinated.
That doesn't make sense.
Despite being fully vaccinated.
It's weird to call him Mr. Rock, as they did in that quote.
Is that what they called him, Mr. Rock?
Yeah, pull it back up, Angela. Mr. Rock to begin
Mr.
that right
Rock.
there at the
Mr.
bottom.
Rock,
Mr. Rock.
I mean,
I
he is technically Mr. Rock. I mean,
I mean, he was a rock.
Just
He
sounds
was
weird.
rock before rock.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's true, yeah.
For the Rock.
I know Tony.
which
Tony
one
Rock.
though?
I'm only familiar with Tony Jaa.
Tony Rock is his
So
little brother.
this is something that is important. A lot of people don't realize this. This is the most likely scenario at this point because we have a significant portion of the population who are vaccinated. And so a lot of people will say, well, the reason that the majority of people in Israeli hospitals are vaccinated is because the majority of the population. Sure, absolutely. That's true. However, we were all sold a bill of goods that once you were vaccinated, you wouldn't end up in the hospital. We were initially sold that you were protected. Remember the term? I don't know if you remember this term. We used to fill out sheets, right, Dave?
Yes.
Come on, Dave.
What?
His eyes. He's sitting like a.
That's the Novocaine. He's taking him out.
Did you say Novocaine?
Not no.
Oh, what? Huh?
I'm
We
getting
used to
my
be-
teeth drilled later.
Do you remember when you have to fill out forms as a kid? Do you know what it used to say? Immunizations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's not a thing anymore.
Why?
Well, because we're not immunizing people.
Oh, we're
right.
vaccinating?
We're protecting now. It's not an immunization. This is important for people to know. People thought they were being immunized against COVID.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
you weren't. Now, it doesn't mean that the vaccine is not helpful. It doesn't mean that it doesn't reduce hospitalizations.
Yeah.
However, that's not why many of you got vaccinated, right? It was the same reason that you all said, and this is an argument that was making the rounds again on Twitter this weekend, saying, oh, well, Republicans are dumb. They're just going to kill off their base if they don't get vaccinated. If that's true, then let Republicans die and decrease the surplus population. You don't believe it. You don't believe it because the statistics show us right now that the majority of people who are hospitalized or majority of people who are going into emergency rooms or getting COVID are vaccinated.
Yeah.
And this comes out from Israel. This is at Washington Post. I think we have the overlay. It was a 700,000 person study. And they found that people who had been naturally infected were 27 times less likely to have a second symptomatic COVID infection than vaccinated people. Now, how did I stumble across this?
Wow.
DeSantis said it. The media said that he was crazy.
Yeah.
Then PolitiFact and Snopes said it was mostly correct. Now, actually, if we bring that up, DeSantis,
Wow.
PolitiFact, and Snopes, they said DeSantis was mostly correct. No, he's entirely correct. 27 times correct with a very large sample study. By the way, the reason this is very important, the data coming from Israel, just so you know, is because they do have a massive sort of socialized healthcare system where everyone avails all of their personal information. I don't want that here, but they're taking advantage of it there while they have it. Huge sample size, huge portion of the population who's vaccinated, and it is it's undoubted right now that it's not working the way that people thought it was working. And natural immunity is 27. You're 27 times less likely. I can't say 27 times more likely to not get COVID again. Here's the thing.
They changed the name, or they changed the definition of vaccine?
Well, they changed the definition of the protection that the vaccine provides, right? It used to be immunized. Now it's protection. And it's protection against hospitalization. But what we're dealing with here when we're talking about the Israeli study, and the fact check is DeSantis said this and it was mostly correct. However, that study may not necessarily be super accurate because in Israel, we don't know people, the severity, how many vaccines they've had. We don't have all this information. And then they say, by the way, that study did show that the most effective is natural immunity plus vaccine. Okay, how do you know that's definitive? How can you say the initial statement of 27 times less likely to recontract COVID if you have natural immunity is not definitive, but then a subset of data saying that natural immunity plus a vaccine is more effective? How can you make one statement definitive and the other general? And this is also important. Can we agree at a certain point? You guys comment, anyone who's vaccinated, people who are not vaccinated, because I know we have liberals out there. I know we have leftists who watch the show. Can we agree if natural immunity makes us 27 times less likely to recontract COVID than the vaccine? It's more effective.
Yeah.
Let's say natural immunity plus, and I haven't been able to find this number, plus the vaccine makes you 28 times less likely. Can I weigh the risk and reward of myocarditis, what the CDC had to host an emergency meeting about? At a certain point, can I say, you know what, natural immunity is enough? When can I make a decision for my own health?
Well, people are losing their jobs if they don't.
Well, and nobody is taking into account the natural immunity, right? So people that have had COVID before, you still have to get a shot and have a vaccine passport. But let me bring this up because you said they don't believe it. And that's a strong claim, right? That they don't believe that these vaccines are working because they're having to do booster shots. And you know who doesn't believe that vaccines are going to protect you completely from getting COVID? Joe Biden. He said it in his mandate when he said companies that had 100 employees or more had to get vaccinated. He said, "I'm going to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated." How do you do that, Joe? What are you protecting them from? They're vaccinated already. Are you saying that they can get COVID at a high rate and that's why we have to protect them? They don't believe any of this stuff. You know who else doesn't? Fauci. He cited the Israel study and said, oh, well, it's more, it's definitely there, but we don't know how long it's going to last. You know what he didn't say? It's 27 times more likely to keep you from having another COVID case by having it. He didn't say that number. I haven't heard that from anybody else yet.
No, I haven't heard that number from him either because he's been trying to argue with the FDA over the boosters.
Yeah. Which
they're like, actually, we don't really think that we should be giving boosters to teenagers. He's like, are you sure?
I have stock in Pfizer.
Do it now.
It just makes common sense.
Do it while they're not looking. By that point, it's a pinprick. They don't know the difference.
I'm a plush toy now.
Yeah. So Israel, 80% of their adult population vaccinated.
Wow.
10,000 new cases were reported on September 13th. 60% of gravely ill COVID patients in Israel were among people fully vaccinated as of August 31st. And they've approved a third booster shot. Look, this is one thing. Let me just speak to this. This is not medical advice whatsoever. I'm just going to explain what I just went through, okay? And the problem with YouTube and the problem with social media is they'll try and hold what I'm about to say, which is entirely anecdotal, to the standard of medical advice. It's not. My parents had COVID. They're fine. My wife had COVID, tested positive. The only reason my wife went in and got tested was because I was feeling sick.
Yeah.
I tested negative. I have now tested negative 5 times over the span of 8 or 9 days.
Yeah.
8 or 9 days. My wife and I have been hanging out, sharing drinks, swapping, So I asked my doctor, how does this happen? And he said, well, you either had natural immunity or, I don't know. That was pretty much it. You had natural immunity or we don't know. So here's the thing. This is what I have been doing, and I've had people in this office doing it, and this is at the advice of my doctor. This has been my protocol, just so you know. I've been taking zinc and quercetin every day. NAC, the N-acetylcysteine, which we've talked about, which has been used as an expectorant for a long time and increases glutathione in your lungs and in your liver, and then doing a xylitol saline nasal rinse. Okay, none of these things are sponsors. Just want to be clear, but the whole idea behind it was to reduce a viral load. This was done based on all of the clinical evidence that I found before me, and I will say, either worked in the sense that I was asymptomatic and already had it, or it worked in that I never got it.
Yeah.
But I have been surrounded by people who've had COVID. Maybe I have a natural immunity because of my blood type. I don't know. All I'm saying is that I tried to take health into my own hands. I tried to stay as healthy as I could, and it worked. And we can't even talk about this right now. No one can talk about health, diet, exercise, supplements for fear of being banned.
Right.
And now we're all reliant on a leaky vaccine where people are still being put on ventilators.
Yeah, and we can't talk about therapeutics, which that used to be the main line of defense. And you and I have talked about why that probably is, and we'll get into that. I'm not going to say it here because it could possibly get us banned from the channel that we are on, even though it's within the FDA's guidelines.
It won't get banned when they come out with the new time-released Nivermectin drug.
It's true. New patent pending.
Oh, so what they're going to do is pull it off the market and then make it a prescription only and raise the price?
Yeah.
That's never happened.
Well, here's something else, too, by the way. My family and my wife got antibodies, the Regeneron treatment. Now Joe Biden has to ration it. Let's be clear. The reason this is being rationed and the rules are changing is because there's not enough for the people who are vaccinated. Let's just be clear. People who are going in and getting the antibody treatment, it's about the same percentage of people who make up the population who are vaccinated. In other words, it's not only unvaccinated people who need antibodies at this point, because vaccinated people are getting sick. This is something that is actually happening across the country right now. And people point to Florida. They try to say DeSantis got money from the company that created Regeneron. Well, Florida had the earliest rollout, one of the most effective rollouts, and one of the highest vaccination rates. And they made Regeneron available. They made monoclonal antibody treatments available to everybody. When family members went in, they were in rooms. You're in rooms with 4, 5, 6 people, and a majority of them were vaccinated. And to be clear, when I went into a clinic, just to give you an idea as to how far gone we've gone as a country, when I went into the clinic, my wife left positive test.
Yeah.
I told them, look, I have a negative home test, so I go in for the more accurate test. They test me. They say it's negative, and this nurse, this snotty nurse says, well, it's negative, but you just treat it like a positive, 10-day quarantine, don't go to work, don't see your kids. I'm like, oh, you must be a liberal. You think I can just end my life for 10 days because it's the only thing they take into account. It can't always be only safety. If you're 27 times less likely to get it when you've had it naturally, do we shut down the economy for 28 times less likely?
Yeah.
An honest question. How is that a vaccine?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It's really a therapeutic. It does a great job of hospitalizations in severe cases. It lowers death rates. Those are all fantastic things, but that's not how it was sold to us.
No.
And now the goalposts keep moving. By the way, Pfizer, the company that we can absolutely 100% trust, they're always right.
Yes.
Never any drugs coming back off the market.
No.
They said that the vaccine is now, this happened this morning, that it's fine for 5 to 11.
Oh.
So the FDA is going to have to
like Parker Brothers.
But they studied 2,500 kids. It must be fine. Anyway. Yeah, exactly. So 5 to 11-year-olds, and people are like, oh, thank God, it's about time. And I'm like, you mean the age group? Just look it up. I'm not even going to say it. Go to CDC's website, look that age group up, and you tell me
look up 5 and 11-year-olds.
That's necessary right now. It could be. I don't know. I'm just saying, go look it up. It's a good question.
It's a scary time.
No, it's disgusting. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Maybe get a vaccine that works.
I don't know. Let's throw that out there. Change the name. Can we change the name, please?
It's not even to be pulled off of this or worried about being pulled off a platform by simply stating facts.
Yeah,
is absurd. I think we're allowed to ask, hey, how come you still get COVID after the vaccine? if everybody was still getting smallpox and stuff, it would.
you'd be like
people.
You had the thing, and you still got the pox. Huh.
Hey, look at these rickets.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is that guy walking like Brooks from Shawshank? Oh, the rickets. I thought we got rid of that. Well, we did. We said we did, but it's leaky.
Not so much.
Yeah.
We have no idea how it really works. And let me tell you one thing, too. The list of side effects for monoclonal antibodies, I have the sheet.
Yeah.
I've never seen a shorter list of side effects.
Oh.
My Zyrtec, my daily allergy medicine, has a higher list of side effects. And they told family members, they said, hey, by the way, once you get these antibodies, don't get a vaccine for 90 days because it'll undo the natural antibodies.
That was interesting.
And I'm going, hold on a second. 90 days? What about a surge? We're talking about flattening the curve? And I said, is there any way? When I asked these people and doctors, I said, is there any way, for example, to maybe use these preventatively? Have we looked at that? If it lasts for 90 days, you're warning people to not take a vaccine for 90 days because the antibodies are still active. This is what they told us.
Yeah.
They said, well, we haven't been able to study that because our study has been right now on treatment. First off, that's bullshit. They haven't been studying treatment. We all know that right now. They're not studying available treatments. Second, I'm going, if you give this to 2 million people, you mean to tell me that you can't study giving an antibody treatment with effectively zero side effects to 5,000, 10,000 to see if it reduces their chances of symptomatic COVID? You can't possibly include that as an arrow in your quiver of studies. They have no interest in it. It's remarkable right now. It's vaccine or bust, and unfortunately, the vaccine is a bust. Okay, talking about China.
Oh, do we have to?
With flu. Shang-Chi, is that the name of this? I don't follow the Marvel.
Is that even a real Marvel thing? It seems like an invention.
So,
Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi.
Oh, I love it.
did you see it? Do you watch these? Because I know with your son.
I like it with plum sauce. No, I didn't watch
That's a no.
it with my son because why?
Yeah, it looks like trash.
You watched Cruella. I figured you need to wash the palate with something masculine.
Well,
Oh,
like-
masculine? Come on.
Nah, I just watched America's Next Top Model and then turn him on to RuPaul's Drag Race.
well, we
Both
were
sides.
discussing him earlier. Her whatever.
Yeah.
$320 million this film's amassed. But what is kind of remarkable is China won't let it play.
Oh, why?
They claim that the character is racist.
Oh.
But really, their problem is with Simu Liu, the actor, his previous comments about China, where he basically said that it was a third world country, that people were starving.
Oh. Telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a couple actors in there that China does not like because of things that they've said in the past.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you go to a movie in China, is it all the same? Like you get the same popcorn and the same, it's all equal?
I have no idea. One size.
Chicken
Yeah,
feet.
One
'cause you really
size.
can't be like, I get a large. They're like, that's not how this works.
That's not how this works here.
You get this bucket.
You get small.
You get a small
and it's
one.
empty.
Yeah.
You
There's
get
enough-
empty bucket, go sit, watch movie, and make no sound.
Yeah.
So
You want butter on your bucket?
the second, by the way, most popular movie this weekend was Candyman. And since China, they have a problem with black people, too. They made changes to the Chinese cut we found with Candy. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm
The full
excited
face
about it.
replacement. Yeah.
Also, Black Panther, too. So
It's coming out.
I just put the mask on.
the interview, though, with this actor is no longer available on the CBC website, just to be clear, where he criticized China. My concern is not with communist China. My concern is with CBC removing this interview that criticizes communist China.
Yeah.
My concern is always with big tech and big media organizations who work together to remove criticism of China. I mean, this is sort of an exaggerated version of what we saw with Red Dawn. Remember they switched
Yeah,
it to North
yeah.
Korea because
Yes.
we can't offend the Chinese market. Here's the thing. If we're interested in our freedom as a nation and remaining in the United States, we should seek to offend the communist Chinese government.
I think
Yes.
at every point possible.
Also
What,
make good
CBC, is that
movies.
Canadian Broadcasting Company? Is that what you're saying? Is it CBC? What are you?
Yeah,
Yes.
CBC was where the interview was.
Oh,
Simu
okay.
Liu
All right, all right.
is Canadian.
Just making
Yeah, he's Canadian.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
Well, you do
Chinese
now.
Canadian who's not able to have a film in China. Okay,
Right.
Got it.
And he also got in trouble because he praised one of his favorite beverage companies, Vitasoy, which I guess is based in Hong Kong. Of course, they don't play very nice with Hong Kong, China. I think we have a clip, right?
That's awesome.
What's up, GQ? I'm Simu Liu, and these are my essentials. First, we gotta talk about Asian snacks. So many Asian kids, like myself, when we brought these snacks to school, we used to get made fun of, right? Because the kids wouldn't know what they were. So now we're here to demystify them. Lemon tea drink from Vita, lunchbox staple.
Look, I don't want to vilify an entire nation of people, so I want to be clear. China's a horrible place.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
We're talking about the communist Chinese government right
Correct.
now. I know. I love that guy. This is the
International
government
treasure.
that allowed Mulan to film there, which basically shoved Muslim Uyghurs out of the way to film it.
We need
Disney
a concentration
thanked them.
camp to film at, so you guys are going to have to go on vacation for a minute and cut rocks.
Right.
With your toes.
Difficult. skilled labor.
And this forced us to do a little bit of a little bit of reading. Apparently, this guy you were telling me, this guy from Xinjiang.
Yeah, Xinjiang.
Whatever the movie's called.
He's a little based.
He might be more right-leaning. There were some Reddit posts that we found, and I guess he wrote, "I'm all about gender equality. However, girls are just not as good as boys at sports. And whenever I play volleyball," he wrote this on Reddit?
Yeah. He wrote it a while ago. Verified account. It was him. He said it makes him frustrated.
He said, whenever I play volleyball with a girl on the team, I always get frustrated.
Yeah, why?
There's some other comments, too, so maybe not all based.
Maybe they're getting frustrated with you being a boy on their volleyball team.
That could be it, too.
Could be that.
Or it could just be, maybe not a boy. It could be a Jesus on the volleyball.
That's true.
Spike!
Are you Zach Morris in the gang?
So hold on. Let me make sure that I have this clear. Marvel panders to China by making a movie about Chinese culture with an all-Chinese cast. They're speaking Mandarin in the movie, if I have this correct, but China cancels the movie anyway. Well, I have no interest in watching the movie, so it doesn't matter.
No.
Oh, well, then you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
I won't watch the movie.
Me too. Are you serious? That's a Marvel thing?
Yeah.
I didn't see any cards. I have the sets. I didn't see Shang-Chi or whatever the hell it is.
He's based on Bruce Lee. His father's
whatever. That's not real.
Kung Fu master.
Is it based on Bruce Lee, or is it just you just kind of think that?
No, it's based on Bruce Lee, but I mean, it's not his name.
While we're talking about this, also Aquafina has gotten in trouble because apparently she has her black scent.
Well, good.
Or using the name Aquafina?
Yeah, I
put a W in it.
I put a W in it and ripped off a song called "My Penis," but just turned it to "My Vagina," and I got a career because they needed a moderately entertaining Asian girl on YouTube, and now I have a career that is completely unwarranted.
I picked the worst water too.
Yeah, not good.
Worse than Dasani.
I'm going to pick the water that tastes like wet pennies.
Well, I mean, if
pennies,
you look at
the
her,
money.
You're not going to pick the most upscale water.
No, you're not going to. She's not going to be selling.
Not Fiji.
She's no Ozarka.
A guy asked for sparkling water next to me on my plane today, and I was just like, "Yeah, go to hell, man." Come on, like what? Just
you don't like sparkling water? You don't like the bubbles, Dave?
No, it's obnoxious though to be like, "I'll take sparkling water, thank you. I'm better than all of you."
You were on Spirit Airlines though, Dave.
No, I
should have known.
Hey,
Better.
what happened to all what happened to stop the Asian hate crimes? Remember that?
It used to be a thing.
It used to be a thing. I guess now we forgot. Hey, is it considered an Asian hate crime when you actually have people who are being imprisoned with no trial? In China, when you have people there who are public conscientious objectors, or people who are actually being banned from the country. I'm a little bit confused. Not to mention, of course, the anti-Asian hate crimes are by and large committed by people of African American persuasions here in the United States. This is just
we don't talk about that.
So basically, this is a movie for rich white people. This is a movie for white feminists in masks to feel like they understand Asian culture, and China bans it. Just like you feel as though you're eating Chinese food with your General Tso chicken, but really, their street food is scorpion fried and rat shit.
Don't forget about the bats.
That is true.
Don't forget the
My
bats.
friend said they eat a lot of chicken feet.
By the way, the best thing you can do is tune into the show Monday through Thursday. It's a live show, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's the best thing you can do. You can follow us, of course, on Apple, iTunes. What were you hitting there? Hit the trigger.
Boom! There
it was TikTok and Instagram. And we have a big-ass interview with Jordan Peterson tomorrow.
Interview.
Ooh, I'm so sad.
So Justin Trudeau, there's a new photo now. Prime Minister, for people who don't know.
From Canada. They're still a thing?
Yes.
Oh, well, he has a recall election. They asked me to be on Megyn Kelly this week. I don't know if I'll be doing it, but they wanted me to be on as their like sort of Canadian correspondent. I said I don't have any interest in. I don't follow it anymore. It's such a silly place.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
I would like it. I'd follow it if it were a state.
Blackface.
We should just make it a state. Got a lot of resources. We can be like, all right, Canada, you're a state.
The fact that Canada is allowed to exist is proof that we are the only nation that has not been the. Can you imagine the Ottomans?
Yeah, like
with Canada to the north, it's like, wait a second, they have no defense whatsoever? None?
Mounties.
How many resources? All the natural resources?
All of them.
Population is a tenth of our population? What? They
just walk up there and take it.
Their Air Force is a guy in an old Cessna propeller plane with a shotgun? And we're letting them have it?
How do they pronounce about?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's enough. That's the clincher. So there's another picture that's come out. Justin Trudeau in blackface from the 2001 Arabian Nights party.
Gosh,
it was just discovered this past weekend. Before, no, hold on, play that.
That's a great photo.
Because I love. Here's the thing. Here's what people are missing with this. He is deliberately showing his tongue to contrast that he's in blackface.
It's true.
He wants you to know. In other words, if that picture, if he were just sort of walking around, he would button up, you wouldn't be like, oh, I don't know, maybe that's a darker guy. But he's going like, look, I'm racist.
When he doesn't go just like a little brown, he goes like dark.
Yeah.
Like
I thought he was doing like,
Snipes.
what's up?
Shoe polish.
No?
Are you sure he's not just dressed as Kazam? Maybe it's his favorite movie.
Yeah.
And by the way, last time he was asked about this, he couldn't recall how many times he had done blackface. Just to be clear.
He's like,
I don't have so many times.
40, 50.
This guy has I didn't know, there must be a name for it. He must have a fetish for blackface.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this guy has done it now. I think we have a bunch of. Is this the one where he's asked? Is this the clip, the one that has me in tears laughing? Is that the next one, or is it the one after that?
It's got to be this one, yeah.
Is it this one? Okay, so this is one that actually, remember this clip in 2019 where he was asked about blackface.
Yeah.
And then they asked if there were any other instances of him doing blackface. And I think I was on air and I almost lost. I think I almost died laughing so hard. Here we go.
I want to begin.
Oh no, this is the wrong
other
clip.
one.
All right,
Saying
the
a
other
few
one.
words directly to racialized Canadians who face discrimination every single day in their lives, even in a country like Canada. What I did hurt them, hurt people.
Not even in a country like Canada.
who
You're
shouldn't
the
have to
only
face
one.
Intolerance and discrimination because
It's
of their
just
identity.
you.
This is something that I deeply, deeply regret. Blackface. Darkening your face, regardless of the context or the circumstances, is always unacceptable.
That's not true.
Because of the racist history of blackface.
I'll tell you what.
Oh, this is it.
In
There it is,
2001, when I was a teacher out in Vancouver, I attended an end-of-year gala where the theme was Arabian Nights. And I dressed up in an Aladdin costume and put makeup on. Blackface.
Is that the only time in your life you've ever done something like that?
When I was in high school, I dressed up at a talent show and sang Deo.
He thought he was done with it. I did Arabian Nights, and he's like, thank you. Oh, wait, sir. Shit,
dang it.
yes. Is that the only time you've ever done it? Potentially the most racist song that's ever existed? Yeah, I did that while doing a very racist thing as well. Okay, thanks. Can I move on?
To my credit, it was a very catchy song.
We watched you wash off blackface before the interview. No other times you've worn it.
That's the follow-up question. Sir, are there any more times? Yeah, so in middle school, it just keeps going.
He's just like putting it on. Yeah. He's like, well, yes.
Don't we have a collage here of all the other times? I mean, look this
at
is
that.
He's
done prolific.
It so, look, and he knows the camera is there, and he's smiling like, everyone get me on camera. He's like, God. He's like a fruitcake in sequence who just wants to be seen.
Why the hat?
I mean, it's Arabian Nights. You got to have the hat.
What about the other one?
To an Arabian Nights party, though. I mean, it's the
He went out of his way.
He went out of his way.
He could have done something different. And by the way, if
you can wear an Aladdin costume,
you could,
and not paint yourself black. It's almost as though people would be confused. Like if you just put on the Aladdin costume, like, oh, you're Aladdin. But once you had blackface, like, what are you supposed to be? No, I'm Black Aladdin. Well, that's a weird stretch.
Go blue Aladdin.
Yeah,
you could have been just fine. He just didn't want blue. And by the way, I said you could do blackface anytime. If you're a Navy SEAL about to go and take down a village at night, blackface is totally acceptable.
Bodybuilding, you can do that there. Or...
Especially if it's Baltimore.
Go!
Or if you're making a movie, Robert Downey Jr.
Do we have another montage? Do we have another?
Yeah, we do have another one.
So he has had to apologize for this repeatedly. And look, it's hilarious. The point is, he's probably going to win re-election in Canada. The argument when people try and go after... Keep in mind, Megyn Kelly was canceled because she said, when we were young, you had girls dress up like Diana Ross. They weren't thinking that they loved the Supremes. They weren't trying to be racist. She goes, I don't think that that's the same as a minstrel show in blackface. Was fired for that statement. Yeah. And this man... who is the darling of the media, the leftist media, this has been his raison d'etre. He is a blackface connoisseur. It's what he does. The outrage is fake. No one actually cares. And I honestly am surprised this guy has just not gotten the shit kicked out of him by a black guy.
Well, there's not many up there.
There aren't many, but the other one Haitian guy, like, stop.
I'll get you.
I'm at the end of my rope. So let's here's a montage of him having to apologize non-stop. This has been going on for years.
Have a look. It's pretty grainy. We wanted to be very sure that this was, in fact, a liberal leader
like
before we made the video public.
Smiling
They
at
did
the
confirm
camera.
to us last night that we are looking at Justin Trudeau in this video. You can see that he has blackface makeup on. It's covering his face, neck, his arms and hands, and you can see between the tears in his jeans there that he also
had it on his
appears to
legs.
have the makeup
Jim
down
Morrison
his legs
was
as well.
hanging
This,
out
as
in
you
a
mentioned, is
firework
the third
factory.
image of him within about 12 hours that has come out, and initially broken by Time magazine.
God.
What an ass.
I'm not as bothered by him as I am by the fact that the media tries to. It's just the selective outrage is unbelievable. And I don't think that you should be going around. I'm not offended by it, but it's getting close.
He went all the way.
He did his
he
entire
did his legs,
body.
his arms, man.
His entire body.
He's a fetishist. This is the truth. No one wants to acknowledge it. He's like Hoover, walking around dressed up like a dame.
Yeah.
This guy likes he likes looking at himself in the mirror and doing there's a weird sexual thing.
He's much cooler as a black man, I'll be honest. I'd walk up and hang out with that guy.
All right, Dave, wake up.
What?
You're literally falling asleep. I see his eyes
I
actually.
told you I'm not
All right.
asleep.
Yeah, okay.
Blackface.
So,
Where's my black
this
face?
is something else that happened this weekend. Have you guys been following them? Now, they've tried to be quiet about it at CNN, but they covered it this morning quite a bit. The J6, remember the rally?
Yeah.
The honey
That was supposed to happen this weekend that we talked about last week, saying this is not a real thing. We don't know anyone who's
Don't
actually
go to
going. Ted Lieu claimed that anyone who was going to show up to this was. So I want to explain to you exactly how the media covered it, what they said you should believe versus what actually happened. And let me just, spoiler alert, there was one arrest, undercover agent, and it wasn't really an arrest. So I just wanted to lead with that so you know before you think like, oh, maybe this is worse than I thought. No. It's absolute nothing, but the media still wants you to believe it's something that you need to be concerned about. Ted Lieu claimed that anyone who showed up was a traitor. Here's Ted Lieu looking like he's in the interview.
The rally near the Capitol supporting the hundreds of people that have been arrested and charged in the January 6th insurrection. What do you think is behind these people calling for justice?
If Republicans want to prevent the risk of further political violence, all they have to do is say one simple, truthful sentence: the election was not stolen. The refusal to do that and to keep promoting the big lie is harmful to our democracy, and it's going to result in further political
How about
violence.
middle parts?
The people who showed up on January 6th and assaulted our Capitol,
Johnny
they're
Five.
not heroes. They're traitors, insurrectionists. And anyone showing up today to support those people also are of the same mindset, and it's highly disturbing that you still have people in America who want to take our democracy and destroy it.
So they tried to make January 6th out to be obviously like almost as big as, let's say, the Summer of Love and the riots and the billions of dollars in damages and thousands of officers, casualties to officers. So they tried to make this out to be January 6th Part 2. We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
No one who we knew was going. We said it wouldn't be, you absolutely shouldn't be going. So what did they do? They installed new fence and motion tracking, right? A watchtower outside the Capitol. They had all the security.
A wall. Wait a second.
Yeah, a wall.
You can believe it.
They had riot police show up in full-on battalion gear. And then what happened was no one showed up. And so they built this up, and now they had to pivot. And Ted Lieu said that, well, no one showed up. So the media said no one showed up because this is now indicative of Trump's waning influence. Right? You can bring that up there. That's what Ted Lieu tweeted. And this was echoed by Newsweek. They tried to say the very small crowd size at the Justice for Six traitorous rally shows the waning influence of former President Trump. Trump actually warned, just to be clear, he warned people not to go. He said this is ridiculous. This is his actual quote. On Saturday, that's a setup. If people don't show up, they'll say, oh, it's a lack of spirit. And if people show up, they'll be harassed. Don't go. And then Ted Lieu says, so this is what they tried to do. If it was big enough, they would say Donald Trump is fomenting hatred.
Right.
And if it's small enough, they go, see, Trump doesn't have influence. Well, how about the truth? Maybe Trump did have influence telling people not to go.
He was spot on with all three of those statements.
The left has been claiming that this is the party of Donald Trump and that he is the guy behind the scenes pulling the strings. You can't have it both ways, Ted. He's one or the other. He is this evil genius that is taking over the country, or he's a guy that can't get more than 300 people to a rally, which, by the way, his history with rallies is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
People
That's kind of his thing.
He's a big draw, you know?
It's like, well, look, thrice married, and I was impeached, no longer president, but listen to that chair.
Look at him.
They could never take that away from me. And it's true. That's his thing. His people love him. So it's not an argument that they would want to make.
No.
Now, how did the media try and frame this event? They said 4 arrests were made, right? Again, this is available. You can see it at NBC, Newsweek. What happened? Well, okay, there was, from what I've seen, and it's really hard to get any information because, of course, they don't want you to get information. One person was detained. And this person, I think we have the video, the one person with a firearm who showed up, who was armed, undercover cop.
Wait, sure, what?
Are you undercover? I'm not part of the event. I'm just here. Where'd you live?
I'm just here. Are you undercover? Don't blow it, man.
Not blowing my cover.
Don't blow it in front of my 4 colleagues.
Who made you undercover? I did.
Yeah.
It was me.
Then they pull out his badge and he leaves without being arrested.
That's so funny.
But you can find the screen grabs, right? And you can. What's so funny is when you watch this footage, you just see reporters going through, right, with their stabilizing cameras, and they're trying to get all these shots. There was no one there. These were the guys who showed up, just to be clear. Look, these glow sticks were the other attendees who showed up. Yeah.
Look at that FBI stare.
Let's dress like douchebags and go to this thing. They won't see us coming.
I don't know if that's douchebags.
Those are Christmas glowworms.
They are.
Oh, that is. Do we have any video of the other 3 that they say were arrested?
No.
Oh, no.
Or records. At least at the time of
Nothing at
this
all.
segment.
So only one confirmed almost arrest.
So let me go through this again for people who missed it. We'll have a link in the description. All of the references are available at loudearthcrowder.com. But last week we talked about the FBI, and we talked about how they have been doing this for a very long time. There's a huge difference between infiltrating an organization and happening to find or intercept some violent criminal activity taking place and actually trying to stage an event or inspire a violent event so that you can capture people. One is doing your job. The other is effectively entrapment. So what do we have there? The FBI, of course, they interviewed the Parkland shooter well before the shooting happened. Pulse nightclub shooter, the Boston bomber. They didn't report Michaela Maroney's abuse. This happened last week by Larry Nassar for 17 months. Over 40 more women were raped, sexually assaulted, sexually harassed. Of course, the militia Whitmer plot. We went through all this last week. About half of the people involved with the plot and almost all of the people who actually encouraged violence were members of the FBI or senior intelligence agencies. And of course, there was it's just the FBI has done this nonstop.
Liberty 7 or Liberty 6?
We did the whole thing last week. This is what they attempted to do this time, but just on a smaller scale. And they had the media ready. No one showed up. And you could argue no one showed up. Why? Because Donald Trump said, don't show up.
Yeah. Well, and people like us, too, were like, what are you talking about? Like a rally? I heard about it last time. I knew there was going to be a rally last time. Millions of people went to it. This time we're like, what are you doing? This is like totally a setup.
And don't say nobody showed up. FBI agents showed up.
That's true. FBI agents showed up. Yeah.
In force.
A couple of U.S. Marshals.
They almost arrested each other.
So many packed in there.
Just like some guy being interviewed by Stephanopoulos. He has a MAGA hat on. Like, oh, well, he looks credible. What are you there with the January 6th number 2? I'm here to search every outhouse, townhouse, penthouse, penthouse.
I want a 3-mile cordon upriver, downriver.
You're just you're a Trump supporter. Correct.
I think it's like that Spider-Man meme. They're like pointing at each other.
Yeah, they're all just you. FBI.
Did anyone out there actually go? Has anyone out there actually gone to this? Was anyone attending?
To an insurrection?
Yeah, exactly. To a fake insurrection.
Yeah.
Who hasn't? Right?
Oh, look, Pfizer right now on CNN. Low-dose vaccine safe for children ages 5 to 10.
Kids in this trial.
5 to 11.
5 to 11. I'm sorry.
2 ones there.
They extended the cutoff one.
That's true.
If Poppy Harlow says.
Hey, you know what else is safe for kids ages 5 to 11? COVID. Relatively speaking, I'm just saying.
As long as they're not
You're
huge.
talking about the vaccine. I'm just saying. Oh, God.
That is not medical advice?
That is, of course, not medical advice.
No.
I don't know. We're at this point. When do we get over talking about COVID? I'm so exhausted with it at this point.
Yeah.
My wife just went, she said, this is the reason there was a toilet paper shortage?
I've not met one person who's had it that hasn't been like, this is why we shut down the country for 2 years?
Yeah.
This?
I haven't met a single and it's anecdotal, but statistically, it's also the reality. And then you have people like Michael Bublé. Michael Bublé canceled the show. My parents were going to go see him in Texas, and he said,
well, he sucks
in
anyway.
Austin, he said, they are not following my protocols strongly enough, and I will not perform unless there's not a single person in danger. You mean a person with an earshot?
It's the excuse for the rest of your career.
Yeah. So I'm moving on. Amy Schumer, she had her She just had her uterus removed. What? Yeah, right now. To what's going on? What is happening?
What the heck was that?
So she had her uterus
continue.
removed as part of a procedure that just...
What the heck?
Hey guys, Whistleblower here. Recently, Steven Crowder took a long hiatus from his show because of some bad complications from surgery. Apparently his lung collapsed or something. But don't feel too bad for him yet, because I'm here to tell you that everything went according to plan. Buckle up, because this one gets crazy. Steven Crowder is actually Amy Schumer. I got into this rabbit hole after noticing Amy Schumer was taping her new TV series around the same time Crowder was going into surgery. This proves that Chowder is surgically augmenting himself every time he goes on vacation to live his second life as Amy Schumer. Think about it. They use their rivalries with each other to make themselves more famous, playing both sides so they always win. And I already know what you're thinking. What about the time they were both on Fox News? I'm already 2 steps ahead of you. It's a classic Hollywood split frame trick. So now, the only question that remains is which came first, the Chowder or the Schumer? Or are they something different altogether? That's all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Whistleblower out.
I'm sorry about that.
We need to tighten up security.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
We need to tighten up the security on the slow news days.
Jeez.
I wanted to talk about this. This is just sort of, since there's nothing really super topical right now, this is something that's been bothering me
over
for
that.
We just try to, we don't want to talk about it.
Move right.
Yeah, I don't want other people. I don't want any copycats.
All right, I'm just. I didn't know we had sex.
Oh, wait, what? Wait, what?
I think we need to talk about the
I never
the military right now going on here in the United States. This is a fundamental change. Someone asked me a question the other day on the show saying, "Would you encourage your kid to go into the military?" My answer now would be no.
Not this one.
And that doesn't mean that I don't honor and respect, of course, everyone who's fought and died for our country. But I do think that the goal of our military has changed so dramatically recently, and I mean very quickly in the last 2 years' time. The goal of the military should be to destroy things, break stuff, win wars, and stop. Win wars, come back home, take the spoils. That's the only reason you should have a military. Now, I don't think that a lot of Americans have the stomach for that anymore.
No.
Americans don't have the stomach for what winning a war would actually look like. See Afghanistan. And I want to know people out there who served. Again, the best thing you could just comment below if you served, what your view is when you were in the military versus now. And we have a lot of people who don't send me, by the way, like your Navy crosses, stuff like that. I appreciate it, but any of your medals, please, I'll get them mailed to me. I really appreciate it, but I think you should keep it and pass it down to your kids. I appreciate how much the show means to you, but I don't have enough room on the shelf space, and I feel like everything has to go. It can't go in a drawer. So please, I appreciate it. Don't send them. Give it to your kid. A lot of people have been resigning from the military recently, or they've been discharged from the military for ridiculous reasons, which I think you need to look at both. Why are members of the military, people who are a year or two away from their pension, and this has been happening in huge numbers, leaving? Why are they leaving? People who signed up for the military, and then why are people being discharged from the military? Why are people being given the boot?
Yeah.
And which people are not being given the boot? Because that's what's most concerning when you look at what is supposed to be an apolitical petri dish, the military, by its very design. And I'm using this term broadly, of course, including all branches. Now it's meant to be a woke diversity experiment. And I don't mean diversity in that being representative of the American cultural fabric. I mean, Jesus non-binary,
right.
Your guess, that seal is, your guess is as good as mine, type diversity quota. So this actually was something that started this off and inspired it was Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller posted this video criticizing, if you guys don't remember, this was sort of the first one, the catalyst, criticizing the Afghanistan response.
I've got battalion commander friends right now that are posting similar things, and they're saying, wondering if all the lives were lost and if it was in vain, all those people that we've lost over the last 20 years. And he goes on to say that we're all part of a chain. While every link may not be tested, the strength of the chain is only as strong as each link, and you got to be, good link, something like that. And what I'll say is, from my position, potentially all those people did die in vain if we don't have senior leaders that own up and raise their hand and say, we did not do this well in the end. Without that, we just keep repeating the same mistakes. This amalgamation of the economic / corporate / political / higher military ranks are not holding up their end of the bargain. I want to say this
It's not
very
a TikTok
strongly.
nurse. This is articulate.
I have been fighting
There's
for
twerking
17
at the
years. I am willing to throw it all away to say to my senior leaders, I demand accountability.
Now, after posting this, he was relieved of duty.
Of course.
So that was worth being relieved of duty, saying, look, there needs to be some accountability for the higher-ups. Can you not request that when you have 13 Americans dead? At what point are you allowed to say, hey, is someone responsible?
Yeah.
Especially when these people are in charge of sending you.
Yeah, when Trump's in
battle.
office.
So, relieved of duty. And I want to contrast that with people who have not been relieved of duty.
Yeah.
Last week, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Douglas Haig, I guess, he tendered his resignation over what this is a letter that's been making the rounds, he called a Marxist takeover of the military and the vaccine mandate. This is part of his letter. I want to read it to you. It says, I am incapable of subjecting myself to the unlawful, unethical, immoral, and tyrannical order to sit still and allow a serum to be injected in my flesh against my will and better judgment. The values that our nation was founded on, has lived by, and thrived under, have been utterly decimated by the current presidential administration and the leadership of the military. This guy left, I think he was a year away from pension.
Really?
2 years, if I'm not mistaken. That takes balls.
Yeah.
It really does take balls to work this hard in something you believe in and then accept that it is no longer what you signed up for and throw away all of the compounding interest.
Yeah, well, and those are the two kind of people specifically that we want to stay in the military.
Exactly.
Those are the characteristics of leaders that we want leading men and women into battle. Like that, those are the people that we want. Why, if you're going to say as a leader, and as a leader in the military, you have to understand this. You're a part of that chain. If you say that not all of the pieces of the chain are tested, you were being tested. You failed, leader.
Yeah.
You have to be the first person to put your hand in the air, take responsibility, so that the people behind you will still follow you.
Right.
How can they otherwise? That was his point. We will not be able to follow you well and be an effective military if you don't take responsibility.
And someone like that, who we would argue is, these are the kind of people we would want to stay in the military, discharged, they're no longer allowed to take part in it. But here are some people who are superstars in today's military. Remember Army Staff Sergeant Bronson, this broad?
And we're beginning to wonder where our military.
I mean, I'm no expert, but that sounded like a terroristic threat. Because not you talking about a bunch of gun owners going out and starting a bloodbath. Like, have you never heard of the Insurrection Act? There's reasons why the military doesn't deploy within the U.S. And if they did, your little good old boy system is not going to fare well for you. Understand
Nor is
that
your
if
Pugsley Adam
active-duty
haircut.
military actually get deployed within the United States, that weapon is not just pointed at other people, other countries. It's pointed at you. If you do not get in your house when I tell you to, you become the enemy. Martial law, you know, where your rights get curtailed. You don't have all those same freedoms that the Constitution guarantees at that point.
And to be clear, people were trying to say, oh, actually, you need to take that into context. You were responding to somebody. No, contextually, and we'll have all the references available at Loud Credit. It's really bad.
Yeah.
In other words, you had someone saying, hey, I can no longer in clear conscience serve in the military that would force me to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
And you have a woman here who's going, I want to be in the military so I can help force other people to be vaccinated. Look, first off, she's talking about the gun being aimed at you. Without a gun, you'd be thrown over my shoulder and in a waste paper basket. Let's be really clear here. Talking tough. This is one thing, and she does it quite a bit. This person, as far as I know, has not been relieved of duty. This person has actually become somewhat of a star online, unless it's changed since we last did the research yesterday. She has all kinds of crazy TikTok clips. Look, she does them under the name, I don't know where this comes from, Lord Daddy Nugget. Here's some of her...
Wow.
Lord Daddy Nugget, the Pugsley Adams haircut, and she's talking tough like a lot of angry,
angry.
Yeah.
Just angry.
Yeah, angry.
Angry balls.
Mentally.
Balls of little anger. Balls of higher body fat percentage. Pools of anger. Here is a montage of this brave and beautiful, thank you for serving in our military, Lord Daddy Nugget on TikTok.
So first and foremost, women's role in white supremacy began long before America. Women had no political power, couldn't vote, but one thing they could do is own slaves. The term stud was created by black people for black people because they were not included in the LGBT community. It was then, and still is now, a term associated with masculine of center black lesbian women. I'm really starting to believe that white men who wear glasses think that they're smart and onto some Like, I really hope for your sake that you're self-employed. Because I guess then the worst that could happen is you're going to get some really bad Yelp reviews.
We'll take a big red guy 40 and wipe it with this red guy 40's mom.
Staff Sergeant Siebert, I know you lying. I know you're not a whole soldier in the United States Army flying this flag. I know you're not a whole staff sergeant in the United States Army talking about military suicide. And you as a non-commissioned officer should know your place. Furthermore, you serve the people of the United States. Live the Army values. And that's how you address people? Come talk to this staff sergeant that way, since you want to hide behind your rank. I'll bet you won't. And wear a fucking helmet.
How about he comes and meets you and folds you up like a pup tent? Also, ironic that she's saying wear a helmet, because here is a picture of this broad riding a Harley, so she's not fiscally responsible, with a Biden flag and no helmet. And by the way, that's not allowed on base, off base. If you are active military, that is a reason for being reprimanded in today's military. Nothing. Why do you think that this broad has not been reprimanded? Sorry, this wonderful, beautiful, brave Z. I don't know. I don't know what this. Do we know what this person is? This person is out there who is campaigning and consistently, publicly attacking other service members. Nothing. A guy who simply made a statement. In general, I think we need some accountability from the higher-ups.
Yeah.
Gone. That tells you what the goal is. Does that tell you that the military, their goal right now is to have the most effective soldiers who go out and kill people and break stuff? Because if not, we shouldn't have a military.
It's somebody who spends way too much time making cuts on TikTok. Did you notice that?
It's like every other word,
man. What is going on?
Well, they also, by the way, the Army banned TikTok from government phones in 2019 because of its rampant security issues.
Oh.
She's probably taking
China.
her TikTok from her helmetless Harley.
I just hate it. That's the kind of person that makes me want to slap somebody. And I mean, I know she would be fine with it because she wants equal rights.
She was challenged. She was like, why don't you come over here and talk to me like,
I'm not. I wouldn't want to, but she's the kind of person that makes me do it.
Here's the truth. Women don't want accountability that men have with other men. I was talking with my wife about this the other day. A lot of what women would consider abuse is the way men interact with each other.
Yeah.
In the sense that, we roughhouse with each other. I was just talking with my wife about this. I remember I had a friend, a relative, who was kind of drunk and unruly.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to go. And I grabbed him and took him out I was like, you got to go. Me and a buddy grabbed him and took him out and got him into a car.
Yeah.
And I realized that's how men interact with men, right? If we were to do that to a woman, that's abuse.
Well, and we know there's
women don't want us to treat them the way that we treat men. I'm not saying that you should, but I'm saying we consistently behave with each other in a way that would be considered abuse if it were toward a woman, because men are the stronger biological sex, absolutely, and I don't think that we should be as physical with women, of course. But the point is, when a woman wants it both ways and says, why don't you come over here and do you really want to hear that knock on your door?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
My wife and I actually talked about this with the YouTube girl that they think they found her body in the park. And there was a police report saying that they had both been physical violent against each other. And I was like, honey, if we have a girl, like, that's one of the things we have to tell her. Like, never act like you have this safe place to hit a man from and that there won't be a response. Now, obviously, the man doesn't need to respond. Like you said, stronger sex, like, you have to have some restraint. But at the same time, you can't just hit a guy and think he's not going to react.
Right.
Like, and that's what this girl is doing. She's operating from this safe place. Now, she could probably take most, frumpy, Antifa guys that are walking around, but not somebody who's trained in any kind of martial art at all.
Picture the
Even
wimpiest
karate.
Picture the wimpiest, unable to do female push-ups, only planking as part of his PT requirement. Antifa guy would mop the floor with her. It would be absolutely embarrassing.
I mean,
people
she
don't understand the difference.
Dave, but other than that,
I can do push-ups 3 at a time.
That's 2.
All right, I did one more.
It's really, and from what I understand, this person hasn't been relieved of anything. Now, here are some more examples. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lomer, he was fired from appearing on the conservative show Steve Gruber.
Oh, really?
Right? Discussed his book on how Marxism was invading the United States military.
Accurate.
Yeah, there have been quite a few examples of people who've been banned, people who've been punished simply for speaking out. And look, do we have to act as though, at least throughout history, people in the military aren't more inherently conservative? Right. Are inherently more freedom-loving Republican, right, who joined the military? And this is something else, too. When we're talking about the military, I don't know when it had to become inclusive. I really don't know when it had. I think that this went wrong with women getting the right to vote. What do I mean? Let me explain.
Whoa.
Men didn't have the right to vote unless they were a part of mandatory draft.
Yeah.
Draft. They had to pay taxes. Mandatory bucket duty meant you had to show up if there was a fire. If you didn't do these things, you weren't allowed to vote. Voting was a privilege for men. And then women said, well, we want the right to vote. And they said, okay, so part of the draft. And they said, no.
That Rosie the Riveter.
So I'm just saying people don't understand the history of it. There were expectations with men voting. And my point here is, look, I don't know when we got to this point where we have to include everybody in the military.
Yeah.
I don't know why women aren't technically included in the draft still at this point.
I want everybody who can do the job, right? So this is not like a G.I. Jane where there's a box and she can do something differently. Like literally, if you can do the exact same job, fine. But that has to be the standard because we're about winning wars, because eventually another beach is probably going to have to be stormed. And it's not going to be the transgender person necessarily that we're looking. I don't care. If they can fight and if they can do the job, that's fine. But that can't be what you build this on. And that's what they seem to be doing right now, going, oh, this is more important than being strong. It's having this Marxist ideology. We need to worry about that. We need to worry about leftists getting mad at us because we kick somebody out.
Here's the thing.
Labeling Jesus non-binary.
Yes, exactly.
Like there's nothing you're contributing. That's my problem. It's meaningless.
It's absolutely
fight.
And here's the issue, too. The reason the United States military existed, at least the reason was to protect the values that make the United States of America, America, right? The American military went forward, when you look at a lot of it, to fight. Marxist. That's a fart.
In your face. I fought in your
That's how they got caught by Charlie. Hey, quiet. Ow!
No,
it's a seal!
Oh, they're in the trees, man.
No, seriously, we went forward to fight Marxist ideology. We went forward to fight socialist ideology. We went forward because we believed in the great experiment that was the United States of America, which was based on this idea of federalism, the idea of federal government, the idea of autonomy before federal government, a state government, a municipal government, and before that, the central building block that was the family that had their own rights to make their own decisions and build their communities. And now we are trying to break that away. We are trying to pull at that thread and create a petri dish in the military instead to foster and create an environment where Marxist ideals can thrive. I'll tell you what there. If you look at this lady, this sergeant, the enemy is within. Who do I want in the military? I'll tell you exactly who I want in the military. Not everybody who will show up and wants to meet a diversity quota and get their college paid for. No, not in the Army National Guard, your pan. Not all of those people. What I do want in the military is a guy who believes in the United States of America, who loves his country, who's proud of his forefathers, who also served, and who would be out there on the weekend with a gun, leather-necked, fighting God knows who in a bar and going out and killing deer anyway, only replaced his deer rifle with an AR-15 and the right to kill terrorists and Marxist scum. That's the person I want in the military. And by the way, he should be able to do a few pull-ups. How about that? Just have a minimum requirement. We wanted people in the military. We looked up to people in the military for the same reason we looked up to people in college at one point in this country. Do you realize at college, university at one point, like if your grandmother, grandfather went?
Big deal.
It was difficult. Because they actually had to learn shit that mattered. They would learn stuff that they weren't doing classes on gender studies and on underwater basket weaving or on the corrosive nature of the patriarchy through social media and tech. No, they weren't doing that. They were learning things. They were learning how to do the math for the space launch. They were learning how to become nurses. They were learning how to actually teach children. You know what they were doing in the military? They were actually learning how to destroy shit. Because that's the only reason the military exists, is to destroy shit. It's not the nation build. It's not to try and build another it's not to go forward and make ourselves friends with everyone in the world, and it's certainly not to make sure that every single demographic and gender and whatever else is there, I don't know, the different gender, sex, whatever you want to use, depending on what we're including in the driver's license that day, get a seat at the table. It is to have the most effective force at breaking shit and taking the stuff. That's it. We should not go to war unless we break stuff and take what's left. And we shouldn't put anyone in harm's way or in the military who cannot break stuff and take what's left. So this is just to give you an idea as to how far we've gone. I would not want my kids to go in the military. For the same reason I wouldn't want my kids to go to an Ivy League school anymore, because I'm afraid they're going to be indoctrinated the same way. I don't want them sitting under that drill sergeant. We'll skip that next montage here really quickly. Let's show the what our recruitment looked like here in this country during World War II and the 90s. This is how we viewed, and this is how we wanted the world to view the United States military.
No, this is not the interior of a birdcage, and the man you see obviously is not
Nobody
a bird.
thought it was.
But he does lay eggs. He's training to become a bombardier, the boy who drops these beauties where they do the most good.
We do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
That's 80s.
Oh, yeah. When they're like, have a Bud Light.
Casey Kasem.
Join the army.
It's a party. Look at my mustache.
Look at my mustache.
Pretty good mustache.
That's a porn star mustache.
Watch me take.
But just look at what they actually tried to present there. Well, look at what they you knew what the military was. So now we can react to the most recent recruitment ad from the military. Let's just roll it, and all of us can watch this again so you see how far we've fallen.
It begins in California
It's a
with
bad
a little
start.
girl raised by two moms.
Okay.
On the Santa Monica Pier.
Although I had a fairly typical childhood,
No, you didn't.
took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality.
Oh.
I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age.
You're wrong.
My mom ruined my Saturdays.
When I was 6 years old, one of my moms had an accident that left her paralyzed. Doctors said she might never walk again. But she tapped into my family's pride to get back on her feet. Eventually standing at the altar to marry my other mom.
That's a weird
With such
phrase.
powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class, and then attended UC Davis, where I joined a sorority full of other strong women.
Were you
But as
prospecting?
graduation approached, I began feeling like I'd been handed so much in life, a sorority girl stereotype. Sure, I'd spent my life around inspiring women, but what had I really achieved on my own? One of my sorority sisters was studying abroad in Italy. Another was climbing Mount Everest. I needed my own adventures, my own challenge.
You're handicapped.
All throughout this, there could have been some guy hunting, fishing, and dreaming of killing jihadis because his dad went to war. That's the guy I want.
And maybe shatter some stereotypes along the way.
This is them not listening to me.
I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord, and I answered my calling.
Well, you answered something.
What if we do this and this? And they're like, shut up, Sharon.
And we get it. Your moms are lesbians. You couldn't pass the plank tests.
No,
Why is that the relevant fact in this? Like, if she can go and fight, or she has this strategic mind that is incredibly valuable, like, those are the things that I care about in the military. Why is the rest of the
How long was that ad?
Why
That was 1 minute 40 seconds.
It was 1 minute 40 seconds, and less than 8 seconds, I counted, were spent on her actually doing military things.
Yeah.
But the mom was in an accident. Then at the end of the commercial, she's climbing Mount Everest. Shouldn't it just be like, and my mom died on Mount Everest.
And then
Because she couldn't climb down.
My mom, actually, she did fine in Mount Everest, but then she slipped down, rolled down, went back up, and she died on K-12. Oh, well.
Oh, okay.
Your
Yeah.
mom should have
She
learned
made
her
it
lesson in the first accident.
This time she didn't really get back on the treadmill. She sort of rolled around on it.
Didn't
Notice
tap into
the
that
fat
pride.
wedding picture.
She was ready to be great.
How? None of that is relevant.
No.
None of that is relevant to the ability to kill people. Or the ability to make sure that you develop and I obviously understand that not everyone in the military is a grunt. You have commanding officers, people who do great work, but developing strategies that ultimately result in the killing of people, ultimately result in the elimination of threats. None of that is included there. It's one of it's like these new commercials where you sit there and you watch a commercial and there's like a parody of some song like, oh, it's Chantix, and you're sitting there like, what the hell is that commercial for? I have no idea.
That's bad.
Is that Ozempic?
Ozempic? Yeah.
Is it a drug?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what it does.
But the point is, you sit there and go, I have no idea what this commercial was about. Yeah. That's the United States military recruitment ads.
Yeah.
Or you watch one where there's like a white dad, a black mom, and an Asian kid, and you're like, so do you two make Asian?
Yes. So which one of you cheats?
Yeah.
Like, well, it's not that diverse anywhere.
Well, that's the other argument, too, that we get brought into with this. And people are going to say this to you, like, oh, it's just, you're the kind of person who would only want white men in the military. No, that is not the same thing at all.
Who's going to protect them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
People
You got to
who are
send in
capable.
minorities first, then the white man.
No, I realized I was agreeing with Dave, and he turns out he was being racist, so I'm pulling that back.
I'm going to pull it right back.
No, what do you mean racist? You put in the lessers.
That's not how this works.
Human
right? You put in
shields.
people who can fight. I'm just going to keep going as though Dave is not speaking. Black people and white people, that wasn't the... No, I know, but that wasn't the differentiator. It was all about, these people can fight. Everybody can go. I don't care what color you are. Honestly, I don't care who you choose to have sex with, though. If you think that's the most interesting thing about you and you have to tell everybody, that's a bit of a problem. Yeah. I want people who can fight. Period.
Yeah. You think
if that means you had 2 moms or 2 dads, I really don't care. I don't think those are great decisions, but hey, we're talking about winning wars now.
Yeah, I don't mind if you go and fight the Afghans who you have sex with, considering, they like kids and sheep.
And not in that order.
No, usually it's the...
No. I love... And this is where we are now.
Off on the sheep.
This is how out of touch... the American military is right now.
I shouldn't have woken
Where our leadership is upset that that the Taliban doesn't have a diverse enough and inclusive enough government.
Yeah.
They just banned girls from high school. Well, what do you think they were doing while you had Pixar on the payroll to do your lesbian army recruitment ads?
Yeah.
I haven't been able to sleep properly since we watched that video where a guy goes, I believe it's Taliban.
Yeah, Taliban.
It's like, did you just make sure that the Taliban wasn't offended by the pronunciation of their name? That's when I gave up.
What are you, a woman in Kabul?
Yeah, no, what are you? I went to
Kabul.
I went to Duke U, but I wasn't a strong enough woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what if we go in and we scissor him? Just shut up, Shannon. You don't know anything.
Not a good plan.
You know who did a good job of making like a tough woman? That was James Cameron in Terminator 2.
Oh, my God.
Sarah Connor was better. She used guns.
Linda Hamilton.
That wasn't somebody trying to be woke and saying, I don't hold my hand while we run. Like, that's what it evolved into. And then that was a better job.
Gave her a Karen haircut for the new one and ruined the whole thing.
They ruined the absolute.
It was the haircut. The whole movie. You're like, why did you...
She made her hate being a mother, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's her whole character.
Well, look, come on. She has some scars to get over.
Well, it was a difficult life.
Let's be honest. Sarah Connor coming with a little bit of baggage.
I'm going to ruin the movie real quick, too. The Terminator comes back and shoots John Connor, like, immediately, and it's like...
In the new one?
In the new one, yes.
The newest one.
Like, it's the first thing, and you're like, so, what, the whole T2 is for nothing?
Yeah.
All he had to do was show up at a wet bar in
the real
Barbados.
hero?
What about
little
the
Mexican
foot crushing the skull and the future falling? None of that matters?
No, he's literally hitting on a girl in Cancun, and Arnold walks up and kills him, and you're like, well, that was wasteful.
Yeah. I love how Dave thinks. He's like, I don't want to ruin the movie. I'm like, no, they did that to themselves.
Yeah, they absolutely.
You don't have any impact.
You're right. You are right. And it was in the first 10 minutes.
Like, I'm done. That's it.
I don't know which one was the last one before that, but it's where they had to decide that they were either going to, it would be required to inject Arnold with so many synthetic hormones that it was just easier to CGI him.
Genesis.
Bad.
Yeah.
Genesis. Yeah.
And he starts going, well, we age just like people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they worked that in.
Yeah, they worked that in.
That's a
Genesis was actually kind of fun in that they remade that opening scene to the first part.
Yeah, you should go outside.
I liked it. I liked the tie-in. I was like, oh, that's cool. All right. The rest of it's fun.
You liked Transformers 4. All right.
I did not. Transformers 1.
The point is this. We have to go to Mug Club. We'll be taking your chat because it's one of those days. Our military, look, it's ceasing to be a military. Okay? It's ceasing to be what a military is designed to do. And I don't think that Americans have the stomach for what winning a war would look like in Afghanistan. It's a 20-year war because we thought that we could prop up a democracy, right? And that same kind of idea is what permeates now this inclusivity bullshit in the military, placing priorities on things and values that do not matter, that could not be less relevant as it relates to military engagement and combat. If your parents are lesbians, who cares? One of them got into a fender bender and climbed Mount Everest. Nobody gives a rat's ass. Nobody cares about any of these things. Your race, your gender, your ethnicity, what you do on TikTok. None of those things should matter. It's how effective are you at killing, destroying, pillaring, plundering, ending the confrontation as swiftly and brutally as possible so that everyone around says, we better not even think of trying them. That is the only reason for a military. It should be the only reason we go to war, and it should be the criteria for the only kind of people we include in our military. That's just one man's opinion. You can let me know what you think. YouTube, I know you don't like that, so you can piss off.